here are 3 critical songwriting tips that nobody talks about, at least not that I've heard of, and how these tips can transform your song from something that's really dull and heartless to something that feels really heartfelt and true to you as a music artist. What is up, everybody? My name is Legend, the DIY musician here, and throughout my 26+ years of making music, I've learned a lot about songwriting and how to best communicate these ideas through not only the music that you're creating or the lyrics that you're writing, but how you process both of these as well. When most people think about songwriting, they usually think of just writing lyrics down on a page or even recording your vocals and producing the record. But that's not all that goes into songwriting. Before we get into today's video, I just want to ask everyone out there to just leave a like on this video down below. It'll take 2 seconds and it will really help this channel. It'll also help YouTube to push more of my content out to the people who want to see it, including yourself. Let's go ahead and jump into tip number 1, which is going to be the story of your song. Now, I'm not necessarily just talking about the story of the lyrics and what the song is about. How are you telling this story? The one thing that I always like to think about is how musicians can compare ourselves to the director of, say, a movie. Only what we're doing is we're dealing with sound instead of visual. So when you get into this mindset, you start to think outside of just the box of writing, pen on pad or typing, in your notes app, but you're thinking of how can I further communicate the idea that I have for this particular song using my different tools, my different instruments, or my different plugins that I have at my disposal, even down to our microphone choices or how we choose to record our vocal. So I want to ask you guys to just step outside of the box and think outside of just your lyrics and how that tells the story of a song. Because yes, while that is a very important factor, it's not going to be the only thing that communicates your emotion to the listener.
Do I have to tell you again? I'm a godly figure, oddly figured, blessings come in, hey.
So if you want to give a listen to this full song, Nothing to Lose, that I just put out, I'll link up here the music video to this song that you can also go watch. Feeling so inclined, I would greatly appreciate that. So this song just goes verse, chorus, chorus, done. It doesn't have to do anything else. It doesn't have to say anything else. And even those verses are not super long and super complex anyway. Now, the reason for this is because I did not want it to be complex. I didn't want the listener to have to pay attention to a whole bunch of different processing and sounds coming in and out and different things going on in the song. I wanted it to be straightforward and to the point. I want to communicate that I'm the best, and I don't need a whole bunch of fluff and nonsense to make me be the best. All I need are my words, the music that I produced around it, and the conviction behind what I'm saying. When it comes down to processing your song and communicating the idea through the vocal processing, this can be done a few different ways. And it depends entirely on what type of sound you're trying to create. What I often tell people in my live streams, by the way, I have a live stream every other Saturday if you guys want to stop by. I give live music reviews of whatever kind of song that you want to submit, and I usually give advice of this nature to people who submit their songs. There's no pressure, there's no roasting of anybody's music. We're all nice and supportive. If you want to stop by for this week's live stream, it's going to be this Saturday at 11 a.m. Be sure to be there, be square. So because this song is straight and to the point and there's no fluff that I want to have in here, I didn't really want to put on a lot of vocal processing like I normally do in my songs. I wanted it to have a more serious tone, and I wanted it to sound more gritty, more garage, on the edge of just punching somebody in the face, And so because I wanted it to have that in-your-face feel, I processed the vocals in a way that felt more confined, more tight, and less about, being spacious and things like that. So I didn't really use any reverbs here.
Personally, it's irking me just how they jerking me around. Give me all my credit if you find it in the lost and found. Everybody know my name all over town. You could try to hold me down, but I got nothing to lose. If you wanna come around, you know that I can prove. Ain't nobody hold me down, and even when I lose, it's unfounded.
This part is interesting here because this is where I felt like I wanted to haunt the listener. And I wanted it to feel a little bit like a ghost presence is haunting them. The presence of me, my artistry. You can't escape it, right? It's always around. But I basically did 2 stacks, but it's doing octave stacks. So that means I'm singing the same note. One is like a lower bass note, and then the other is like a soprano version of the same note. So one's high, one's low. And that kept the simplicity of the song so that I still had somewhere to progress to later on, aka the climax where all the harmonies do come in. But I'm still getting that we're adding more to the song. We're progressing the song further here in the chorus without it just sounding puny, especially since our instrumental here, we have all these instruments that are being added at this point. We have, I think, 4 or 5 different instruments that have been added since the beginning of the song. So now our vocals have to be a little bit more higher in the volume, a little louder, a little bit more present to match that same gradual increase.
I got nothing to lose. If you wanna come around, you know that I can prove. Can't nobody hold me down. And even when I lose, it's unfounded. I'm unbound, I'm unbound, I'm unbound.
So the rap, the reverb is turned down pretty low. It's there, it's in there to a very low extent, but it's purposely taken all the way down because listen to what happens if I did put some reverb on here.
Yeah. Do I have to tell you again? I'm a godly figure, oddly figured, blessings come in. Hey.
It's too much. We don't need that much space in the rap. We need it to be clear and concise.
Do I have to tell you again? I'm a godly figure, oddly figured, blessings come in. Hey.
However, when the chorus comes in, that's where we add our reverb on the singing parts. Because this is the climax before the climax. This is the main part of the song is the chorus, right? So the verses I imagine as valleys where we're kind of just telling the story or whatever it is we're talking about in the verse. And then the peak of that is going to be the main idea that we want to sum up from the verse. So I got nothing to lose if you want to come around. You know that I can prove, can't nobody hold me down, aka can't nobody tell me that I'm not dope. When I do my raps, I normally process my raps different than my singing vocals. I like to keep them more raw and, tight. I don't want there to be a long tail where it feels like a fairy is floating behind me or something. I want to be like, I just shot the fairy in the face. Sorry for all the Disney kids out there. Okay, yeah. Which brings me to number 2, which is the conviction of the song. So we're not talking about a conviction in terms of like guilty or not guilty, unless we're talking about I'm guilty of being the dopest artist on the planet. This is more like a deeply held belief. I was speaking purely about my belief in myself as a creative person and how I deeply hold the belief that I'm one of the best, if not the best out there right now in everything that I do overall. Visuals, music production, vocal production, songwriting, arranging, Nobody else gave me my flowers, so I'm planting my own garden. Having that conviction that I am the best and trying to communicate this in my lyrics, which I do think I did, but also in my delivery, my drive when I was recording this vocal. I can pull from the emotion that I've actually felt in these experiences. And as a result, when I talk or rap about it, when I sing about it in my song, you can feel it as the listener. You feel my conviction. You feel how angry I am or how pissed off I am that nobody's giving me my due. I could have written these lyrics, as they are and recorded it with like some hunky-dory kind of, how many of y'all listening? To the voice of reason, heed the message, then say amen. Like it sounds like I'm reading a verse from the Bible. Yeah. Amen, what you talking about? But if I'm like,
do I have to tell you again? I was godly formed when I was born, blessings to kin. Hey, how many of y'all listening to the voice of heathens? Heed the message, listen again. Universally, it's irking me just how they circling around. They just need some new shit. All these vultures trying to steal my sound. All these niggas know my name all over town. They could try to hold me down, but I got nothing to lose if you wanna come around. That I can prove, can't nobody hold me down. And it's unfounded, I'm unbound.
It's gonna be a short song. Don't overthink it. If you feel like you're trying to stretch it, you probably are, and that means you should stop. And when your listener hears this stuff, they know that this is real. And as a result, as a human being, first and foremost, they can immediately connect with what you're talking about. The conviction that comes behind what you're feeling, the conviction that comes behind the lyrics that you originally wrote when you felt those things. It needs to be real. It needs to be you. And that's the most important thing I can say, especially because other humans are listening to our music. We need something to relate to. That brings me on to tip number 3, which is going to be the emotion itself in the song. Stick to whatever you feel in that time, because people can feel it. So the next time you go into the studio and you want to write a song, just first think of how you feel that day. You feel happy? Make something happy. You feel sad? Make something sad. Don't try and circumvent your emotions or write something that is outside of the scope of what you're feeling, because then you're trying to force yourself to feel something you can't currently feel. Every song that I wrote or produced or released that was outside of the spectrum of what I was feeling in that time, it never did anything. Even if it felt like, oh, this song is super sick, you know, I love the production I did here, it's so dope, intricate stuff here, and the layers of vocals and stacks, and this got 100 harmonies in there. Doesn't matter. I put that stuff out and it flopped. But there have been other songs where they were so simple and so to the point, and the processing was done in a way that was true to the minimalism of that song or the, you know, extreme complexity of that song. Those songs were my most successful. It doesn't have to be a song that's gonna uplift people out of depression or, you know, sink people down into depression, but it just has to be something that people can feel and relate to. And like, man, I'm not the only one here that feels this. Wow. The next time you go into writing your song, start somewhere, but have it come from your emotion and think of, how can I communicate this emotion in sound?
I've decided that today I want to make something a little bit different and off kilter, but more chill. So here's the sound that I like.
Bring this up right here. Oh, look at that B3. It's just looking beautiful.
All these niggas know my name all over town. They could try to hold me down, but I got nothing.
All right. What you can do also is something that I normally do before I even write my lyrics. I record what's called a reference track. And this is basically where you just go in, you either hum or you sing gibberish lyrics, whatever comes out naturally, and record that. Try to use different vowels if you can. Once you have this reference track recorded, you can sort of piece together like, ooh, this word might make sense here where I said this gibberish vocal. I had one song or one video where I did a gibberish vocal. It's like, and then what I ended up writing was, didn't think she was a rider till I got her love inside her all the way up. It just comes, you know? I probably shouldn't have said that. Before anybody listens to the lyrics that you're saying, they're hearing music, they're hearing the harmonies, melodies, they're hearing how this stuff all fits together. So even if you're putting out a gibberish vocal, Ryan Leslie's done this song called Gibberish. It's about the overall sound and how it makes people feel. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time I upload a video in the future. And in the future, if you ever want me to break down one of your songs live on my stream, be sure to join the memberships down below. I'm trying to diversify my income. I'm also trying to be more like vocal about the things that I sell and the services that I do, because your boy needs to stop depending on AdSense because you're making 3 figures a month. That's not how I want to live. So thank you guys for watching. And as always, stay legendary. I love you.